Hey everyone, it's you once again, and of course, I want to welcome everyone back for another movie review and, of course, another video. And this time, I'm gonna review a martial arts film, Bloodsport. Came out in 1988, and of course, it was stars Jean-Claude Van Damme in his first role, and this is actually one of his best films, and of course my second favorite movie, and of course actually I meant my second favorite Van Damme movie. And Bloodsport is an actually an epic sports martial arts film, and of course a classic. I love this movie to death. Always has been all my favorite Van Damme movie, my favorite martial arts movie, and of course it's about a martial arts tournament. And I would say this movie and Enter the Dragon are the best martial arts film. I would say the best. And I know some people said that the best of the best with Eric Roberts is actually one of the best martial arts films. To me, it would be Bloodsport because when I was 8 years old, I saw this movie for the first time VHS and I became a huge fan. And I do have the film on my own Blu-ray, so that's the Blu-ray. Yeah, it's the audio is 2.0, but it's much better than on VHS. The picture quality is fantastic on Blu-ray, and this is actually a handmade. You can get this kind of cover, but this is actually a handmade. And Jean-Claude Van Damme's first role for Canon Group, and of course I do have the VHS. Yes, I do have my own VHS tape still, and it's the only one that I do own from the Van Damme films. I used to have Maximum Risk, but I don't have it. But yeah, this is actually the original VHS tape, and originally this movie was never released, but Van Damme did his own cuts, and he helped this movie get released, because almost never get into VHS, but Van Damme he gave his own money for the movie, and the script and the story about martial arts tournament is fantastic. It's excellent. It's the best. It's the best movie. The story is great. And the story talks about Frank Dukes, played by Jean-Claude Van Damme in his first role, which he enters Kumite, an illegal underground martial arts competition where serious injury and even death are not unknown. Yeah, and in town for the fight are a number of fighters, as well journalist determined to get her story. Chun-Li, a particularly ruthless and vicious fighter, is the favorite, but then again, Dukes has never fought him before. And yeah, and the story that's actually right in the background, and of course the story talks about an American who is Hana who is honoring on his strange way his mentor of martial arts, and of course Shudoshi Tanaka, played by Roy Chow, rest in peace. Yeah, Shudoshi Tanaka was actually his sensei, and he taught him the mystical martial arts. And yeah, Bloodsport is a mystical but a honorable action sports martial arts film. And I love this movie to death. One of my favorite martial arts tournament. And of course, Johnny Cage, the character from Mortal Kombat video game, was actually based on the character Van Damme is playing, Frank Dukes. And that was awesome. The Mortal Kombat video game was based on this movie. So that was awesome. It's one of my favorite martial arts films, and Jean-Claude Van Damme's best film. He trained Van Damme when Canon Group, Sheldon Littich, who wrote the story, also he wrote the same time he wrote with Stallone for the story for Rambo 3. Sheldon Littich said that he met Frank Dukes, and Frank Dukes was claiming about this tournament, that it was actually a secret competition which he entered, and he later put in a friend that claimed that he witnessed, and it was everything that Frank saw was true, but but later it turns out it was actually a lie. Frank Dukes actually Frank Dukes he actually yeah, he tricked Frank Dukes light, and he tricked himself into the way of Hollywood. He lied, and later that person admitted that he lied, everything that he lied. Frank Dukes was actually preparing him so that he said whatever, so that guy could God profit. And when Jean-Claude Van Damme got became the first story, a lot of things is not written on Wikipedia, on Twitter, but there's IMDb and Wikipedia. But there's the stuff that I know about the film that probably many people doesn't know nowadays. The Van Damme and his friend Michael Gissi, who later became Tong Po and kickboxer, they travel around the world, and Van Damme's lead bring him into Hong Kong, in which he met the producer and of course the president of the Canon Group, Films of Independent Studio. And when he met Menachem Golan, and when he met Menachem Golan, there's no audition for Van Damme's role. He just used his famous flying kick around Menachem Golan's face, and that's meant around his above his head, and that's how he got the role for Frank Dukes. That's how he got the role. He met the owner of the Canon Group. Studio, and that's how they became. So that's how he got the role. Their first movie was No Retreat, No Surrender, which Van Damme was that time very poor. He even lived in his car until he got the stardom for this movie. This movie made him into a star. And Shadow Letich said that even though Frank Dukes lied, but the stories did actually inspire to make this movie. And also, Van Damme later did a sequel, which it could be a sequel, The Quest, and I think that Frank Dukes, he sued Van Damme and claimed that they had a deal for that movie, and he had a tape which he recorded the conversation, but he lost it, and Frank Dukes' lawsuit was dismissed. So he did not win when he sued Van Damme for the rights, So yeah, that's actually what I heard about it. Also, I don't know what was true or what wasn't about Frank Dukes. Like on the end, when he's writing all those records, they're claiming it was a fiction. I don't know. And honestly, I actually don't care, because I only care about the movie. And this is what brings me to this movie now. And in the open scene, we see like a few fighters. By the way, great music by, I think it was Paul Herzog. Great music scored by Paul Herzog. And we see a couple fighters training while preparing for the fight, for the secret tournament in Hong Kong in this time. We also see Bolo Yang plays South Korean martial artist Chong Li, which is actually Kumite champ so far, and he never was defeated before. And we also see one guy like with his knee break a board. He could go and break a board. Or this black guy like uses a monkey technique, which this movie has a lot of fights, a lot of freestyle fights that I saw. A real martial artist film. But yeah, we see the story of Frank Dukes, played by Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's a military man, and of course, he's actually I think he's a Marine I think he's a military man and secret CIA operative, and because they don't let him that he goes and trained, that he will compete, that he will actually compete in tournament. Frank Dukes escapes, from the army base. He escapes and he meets his hometown, his sensei Shidoshi Tanaka, played by Roy Chow. And the flashbacks bring us back to Frank Duke's childhood as a kid. He and his two friends, they break into Tanaka's house, and he found a katana sword. He found actually a katana sword, and this young kid, Shingo, while to his body's escapes, Frank wants to put the sword back, but gets knocked down by Shingo. And of course, Tanaka sees a martial arts spirit in the kid, and decides to take him under his wing. And he's not gonna call the cops if they can make a deal in which Frank is gonna help to train his son Shingo. And at first, during the 5 sessions and the trainings, Shingo and Frank are not friends, But when Shingo gets beaten by 2 other kids, Frank defends him, and that's how they became friends. And later we see Van Damme's character, Frank Dukes, now an older, and we find out that the kid they actually grew together died. It's still unaware how he died, but he died. And he asked Sensei Shidoshi to train him, and use him of the East martial arts. And of course, Sensei Tanaka Shidoshi, he accepts the challenge and he trains Van Damme, and we have a great train sequence. Like there's a train sequence in which Van Damme is catching a fish, a great sequence. And most of the martial arts is actually most of the trainings, and in which Sensei trains and shows Van Damme, that was actually more a karate style Shotokan. I know that because I'm trained on karate myself. I trained style Shotokan, and all the kicks, the flying kicks from Van Damme, you see, that's actually Shotokan karate, because Van Damme was world kickboxing and karate champion, and that was real, that wasn't fake, Van Damme was not fiction. And when Frank Dukes heard about it, that Van Damme is going to be star in this movie, he saw him not to be in the shape of his life, so he goes through a real hard training, and Van Damme was was very skinny, and even though he was a world kickboxing champion, karate champion, and also a bodybuilding champion, he said for the 3 months of training was the hardest training of his life, but he was in shape, he made it. And Van Damme's personal favorite movie that he did. And Bloodsport is one of my favorite movies. As a kid, I non-stop watch Bloodsport, so much I love this movie. And I really have to talk about Bloodsport, And the training sequence, like Van Damme has been then tied by 2 ropes, on the trees with his legs and arms, and he uses all his body and strength to climb up, and the trees get broken. That was actually a real painful, but he survived. And he graduated, and his sensei became proud of him. But now, because he's sick and he's lying on a dead bed, Frank Dukes, promised that he will go, and he will go into Hong Kong, and he will enter the Kumite, secret competition. And of course, Sensei Tanaka tells him, when you fight, my spirit will fight with you. So he goes to Hong Kong, while U.S. government sends 2 undercover CIA agents Helmer and Rawlins, played by Norman Burton, rest in peace, and Forrest Whitaker, to bring Frank Dukes back, and they both track down Frank Dukes to Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, Dukes meets Jackson, played by Donald Gibb. Ray Jackson, and they actually play that video game arcade fighting, and I love when Jackson says, you like that, you if you like the fights, you can see me in the Kumite, and Van Damme says, yeah, I'm for the Kumite too. Aren't you too young for full contact? Aren't you way too old for video games? I love that, and of course, Mr. Lean, in the hotel waits Frank Dukes and Jackson, which he brings them in the arena underground in Hong Kong, and because he enters the competition. It says on his invitation that he represents the Tanaka clan, and he doesn't look like Tanaka, and because Van Damme has to prove himself, he has to use Dame Mac. If he says that Sensei Shudoshi is actually I forgot that lines. That he says that Sensei Tanaka is his Shidoshi. What's the problem if Bruce Space was Shidoshi? If Sensei Tanaka is his Shidoshi, then show us D-Mac. And I love when Ray Jackson says, what the hell is D-Mac? That touch, And Van Damme goes to those bricks and uses like his iron hand and breaks the fucking board to pieces, By the way, that was fiction, but great special effect, that touch is actually a Chinese legendary move, which the attacker has to be quick and use the quick strike, But Dim-Mak is the death touch is actually fiction, in which Frank Dukes uses to break boards, But Chong Li, played by Bolo Yang, Bolo Yang, that's Chong Li, he says, very good, but boards do not hit back. And Bolo Yang was also in Enter the Dragon, and Enter the Dragon is actually another favorite martial arts tournament of mine. Bloodsport and Enter the Dragon are the best martial arts movies in my opinion. And similar lines that Bolo Yang says in this movie, very good, but boards do not hit back. Bruce Lee says in Enter the Dragon, boards do not hit back. And this is like similar, very good, but bricks do not hit back, almost similar lines. And in the hotel, Frank Dukes meets this girl Janice, played by Leah Hayres, and Hussein. I can't find Bernard Mariano plays Hussein, and they go into gambling, for the girl, and of course that flip coin, in which Van Damme uses that quick move, that's actually when Van Damme is actually learning how to catch a fish with his bare hands, that's how he uses and tricks Hussein into a coin by tricked him, that's pretty awesome in my opinion. And and Van Damme gets a girl, meets Janice, that she's a reporter, that she wants to write the story about Kumite, and she asks Frank to help him, but he can't, because the Kumite is for fighters, not for people who read newspapers. And while Van Damme the first day enters the competition, and in my opinion the scenes during tournament is actually the first time. It's actually my first scene with Stan Bush song Fight to Survive, and there's like a real bloody fights, practical effects done for real. Like you have like great fights, like the opponents, there's like blood, the fights are for real, done for real, no CGI, no fake shaky cam. I mean, they don't make movies like this anymore, you know. They don't make classic movies like Bloodsport anymore. And you have like all blood, you know, like Van Damme, Hussein grabs and Van Damme uses his elbow and knocks him down for real. That was done for real, and that move, that scene I did make in this movie, you know, and he knocked him down. Or Chong Li, who I think he used now called clutch, you know, in which he choked his opponent. Or Ray Jackson, the whole movie doesn't use any technique, but I think he used his freestyle like a wrestler, you know. That's me, just me saying, you know. And his first opponent for Ray Jackson, you know, is like a skinny worm, and Jackson says asshole, and the guy like kicks him, and he's like bloody grabs him and breaks his goddamn nose, you know, which is awesome. And there's like Paulo Tocha, who plays Paco, uses his Muay Thai martial arts. He was actually a real martial arts Muay Thai, you know. And like the fighters, I mean, the first day of the Kumite, the first scenes are badass, you know, are real. The fights are real. And like those scenes, that's actually from kata, you know, which Van Damme used. It's actually more from kata, you know, more style Shotokan, you know. And yeah, like I said, I did train karate for 2 years. I have orange belt. No, I did not came to the black ones, but I did train style Shotokan, the same that Van Damme studied, the same style that Van Damme studied in his like kicks, you know. Or that kick, you know, that kick in this movie, that's what Van Damme did in No Retreat, No Surrender, you know, which he jumped on a guy's shoulder, and then he made like a flying kick on Chong Li. That was actually the scene, you know. And the first day, you know, when Van Damme, when Frank Duke survives the first day of Kumite in the hotel, you know, Herman Rollins, they show up when they were on the police station, and they asked Inspector Chen. And Inspector Chen, played by Philip Chen, he was in Hard Boiled, which I reviewed the film. He was Superintendent Prank in John Woo's movie. And like I said, Philip Chan was a real chief inspector. He really was inspector in Hong Kong, you know, until he became actor. He was chief of the police. And yeah, so when Inspector Chen tells him that he's in a hotel in Kowloon, you know, so Herman Rollins shows up to Frank and tells him that he's coming with them. He said, and Frank says, "I'll be in 2 days." That's not good enough. They go and chase him out, and there's like funny scenes which they both fall in the water, and during the chase scenes, you know. Yeah, the chase scenes, it's actually played that song "Still the Night," which I like that song by Michael Bishop. But "Fight to Survive" or even "On My Own," Stan Bush is actually my favorite two songs. But "Still the Night" I really enjoy, which they actually chase Van Damme, you know, but he escaped them. And there's also a little love story with Janice and Van Damme, which I wish that kind of would be scrapped, but thank God it wasn't that much serious romance. It wasn't like they had sex, you know, even though Van Damme woke up, you know, but that was actually fast paced, you know. The pacing for this film is fast. The camera, the shot, the angles, the fight scenes are done for real or practical, you know, very bloody. And the second day, you know, we see like Chong Li grabs this guy, Michael Gisi, you know, who plays San Paredes, who uses his mystic martial arts. He grabs him and he like break his leg, you know, and we see like all break like a bone. We see almost a bone being break, you know, which is really practical effects really done, you know. But it's like a lot of blood in this movie, a lot of real fights, you know. And like Ray Jackson's, that's what it's called, Bloodsport, you know. That's actually a sporting movie, a real martial arts film, you know, like all blood in the fight, the technique, the fight scenes, you know. Or when Van Damme uses his kata scenes like style Shotokan, which is a real technique, real martial arts, real badass. And when Ray Jackson, goes after Chun Li, Chun Li kicks him with illegal hits, and he breaks his goddamn head, and Van Damme's like, no, and Chun Li goes and steals, steals that cloth from Ray Jackson, Or I love when Van Damme fights this guy, this tall guy, a strong bodybuilder guy, and Van Damme, like, he goes and with his hand, like in the stomach, and he makes that split, that split with his legs, and he like punches him in the balls. Whoa, that scene was really badass, like a ball in the balls. Oh my god, that was really done for real. I was like shit myself in my pants when I saw that, when Van Damme do that, and he like push him, the guy fall down, which is really badass but realistic. This movie was more realistic than anything. My opinion, I don't think those fight scenes were unrealistic. At least my opinion, I think the fight scenes were realistic and they were accurate done. They were practical done. And this is actually Van Damme's first movie, which he was in the lead role. His first movie was No Retreat, No Surrender, but he wasn't that much in the film. He was a villain in that film. This movie, he was the first time, he did the first time, and he was the star of this film. And Bloodsport was always my favorite, and I would say Van Damme's best movie. Even Van Damme is proud of this movie, what I want to say, the training sequences are great, the fight scenes are great, practical, well done, great executed. Love this movie to death. When Van Damme's best friend, Ray Jackson, he gets in the hospital. Van Damme promises that he will get Chun Li, and Janice says, do you think he wants to share the room with you? And Van Damme says, Janice, stay out of it, and I love it. That's great, Frank. Just go ahead. I don't want you to have like a Jackson Edwards, but not gonna stand and watch this, And when Victor Lynch shows up and says, "Forget the girl. You have a chance to be the first Western to win the committee, the champion ever, And Van Damme is driving with the bus, We see a flashbacks what happened in those 2 days, And we actually listen to a song On My Own by Stan Bush, which is my favorite song, On my own, I can destroy. Oh yeah. I'm sorry, I can't sing that great like Stan Bush did. Stan Bush did the songs for Kickboxer then. But yeah, Van Damme, he goes now in this underground arena, and of course Janice bring the cops, and Helmer and Rollins, and of course they try to fight, but Van Damme defeats like four cops, he goes in the arena, and he has now his first match with Paco, and I love the flying kicks, and Van Damme like a pure badass, he goes, come on, I love that, Van Damme like a pure badass, kicks Paco's head off, and the guy falls down. I mean, Van Damme's a badass in this movie, and Chong Li fights this guy, which I forgot his name, but the actor who played was damn good, and Bolo Yang goes and breaks his neck, he goes and breaks his nose. That was done for real. They actually hide those hits, but that was done really brutal, that fight was really brutal in my opinion, and the Bolo Yang goes and break his neck, that's brutal. And Van Damme now fights with Bolo Yang, and the fight scenes was great, this movie, like Van Damme, he goes and jumps, on the referee, jumps, and hits with a flying kick, Chong Li, which was a badass, with a flying kick, which is a badass, and Frank, like a pure badass, he goes boom, 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 punches him, he goes and punches him like a pure badass he is, and I think that Bolo Young grabs that ecstasy or that drug, and that pill, he makes in the dust and shows in Van Damme's face, and Van Damme is like now blinded and can't see anything. And Chong Li, he goes and cheated and goes and kicks Van Damme on the dirt, and Van Damme gets, like, in the first half of the fight, gets his ass kicked because he gets drugged, because he gets blindsided by drug, and then we see a flashback of Van Damme, like a badass he is, remembers the teaching the teaching techniques that his sensei she teach him, taught him, and when Chong-Li goes like this, he catches the fist and goes and kicks him in with his leg in the stomach, throws him on the floor, on the ring, and Chong-Li grabs the referee, throws on Van Damme. Van Damme catches the referee like this, and he goes like back, and Van Damme like uses his flying kicks, and he like makes like that flying spin kick like 4 times in Chong-Li's face, and then grabs him, for the head and say it, and he says Wati, which he surrendered, which Chong-Li surrendered, and then grabs Van Damme, grabs that Harley Davidson the cloth from that trademark from Jackson, and defeats, and he wins the match. He becomes the Ultimate Kumite champion, and he earns the katana sword, and like they said, he fought with honor, and the movie has a heart, and on the end, Van Damme says, "This is for you, Shidoshi." He stumbled really good. He visits in the hospital Ray Jackson, and then he goes to the airport, and Ray Janice from the bus shows up, she does like this, and he Van Damme was like this, and the movie then ends with a beautiful song by Stan Bush, "Fight to Survive." And I really enjoy this movie because like the first tournament scenes, the first fight scenes in the tournament are actually my favorite, with the song "Fight to Survive." And everyone, the cast was great, except Hussein, Frank Dukes, Ray Jackson, Chong-Li are the only one with dialogues that are actually talk, that they speak. The rest of the fighters, they don't speak through the entire film, not even the referees that play in the movie, they do not speak, which is which kind of is awkward, but I never was on my mind, But the movie was distributed with Warner Brothers, but was actually a canon movie, which last night I reviewed Mission of Justice. Now I want to review another martial arts film, Bloodsport. Was actually filmed in 15 October 1986, but was actually released in 29 April 1988 in the US. Budget was $1,100,000 and made worldwide $11 million, and of course box office was actually $50 million, which was a success. It was also featuring scenes inside Kowloon Village City before was demolished in 1993. And and of course Don Chewy is right that Frank Dux, he never competed in one single martial arts tournament. That he tricked himself with the lies in the world of Hollywood. I don't know what's true, and like I said, I don't care about Frank Dux or Frank Dukes. I don't care. But I do care about this film because one of my favorite films ever. And Van Damme, he did his own fan cuts. And like I said, Frank Dux brick breaking is actually pure fiction. The Mark, that touch, it's actually Chinese legendary move, which is a quick strike. But yeah, but the movie was successful. Bloodsport was successful, and it's one of my personal favorite action movies of all time. And yeah, the movie has great fights, great action. It has great action, great fights. The movie is also in a honor way. It's made with heart. This movie is made with heart. It is one of the best martial arts films. The Mortal Kombat video game was based on this film. And like I said, Van Damme's character, Frank Dukes, was actually inspiration for creating the character Johnny Cage. So that was awesome. That's cool. But Bloodsport was always my favorite action movies, which I still do own. The only Van Damme movie on VHS I still own is actually Bloodsport. I'm also very proud to have this movie on Blu-ray. As a kid, someone took the VHS tape and I couldn't find it, and I wanted to get it, but I couldn't. Until later we actually talk about Van Damme. And Bloodsport is my favorite martial arts tournament. And the same year, Steven Seagal did made Above the Law, which was actually successful, made more money than Van Damme's Bloodsport. And was more successful than actually Van Damme's Bloodsport. And if I had to choose, I'll choose Bloodsport because it's to me better than Above the Law. They're both great action movies, great movies, but Bloodsport is actually much better. I love the competition. I love that is performed on a mystical art. I love that movie has heart. It has adrenaline, pulse adrenaline. A rockin' sucking martial arts saga, Leonard Claudio, Los Angeles Times, produced by Mark DiSale, who also directed The Perfect Weapon, and he directed Kickboxer. But directed was by Newt Arnold, which I forgot to mention, and Sheldon Lettich wrote the story and the screenplay with Christopher Crosby and Mel Friedman, which was awesome. Was only 92 minutes long. On VHS is 88 minutes long. But honestly, this has a great audio, much better than on VHS that I remember. Yes, it has better audio, great picture quality than on VHS. I still wish that would be remastered this film, but that's cool if it isn't. But anyway, that's my movie review on Bloodsport. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a good one. And I'll see you next movie, which I'm gonna talk about, Cyborg, another Van Damme film. Anyway, I'm out. Peace.